Hey, everybody, and welcome to S.O.S. Sisters Overcoming Stress. As always, I'm your girl, Dr. D, and I am here with your mindful coach, Tia Robinson. Tia,
Hey
today
everyone.
it's our first podcast. Welcome to 2019.
Yay!
So I'm reading this Business Insider article, which I know you already read. 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. How you feel about that?
Girl.
How many you got that already failed on your end?
Am I on the list? No, I think it's probably pretty accurate. You start off the year really in this mindset of almost like you have to set a goal now, a goal that you want to reach or achieve. But with any goal that you set, it's really, really important to make sure that you are in the correct headspace, right? So I think we've gotten into the tradition of establishing New Year's resolutions, but are we all mentally ready to take on some of those goals and tasks? I think that may be the proof in the pudding as it relates to the 80%. Just my thought.
Because here's the thing, you go into the new year, and for a lot of people, it's a time of refreshment. It's a time of rethinking. It's a time of rejuvenation. So everybody's got, their vision boards out, right? And they're taking on the new year. They're going to be the new you in the new year,
Yes.
But that's so much pressure. It's so much pressure. And then I think what happens is people don't know how, or don't give themselves permission to revise their resolutions in real time.
True. But I have a question. Let's take a step back.
Let's take a step back.
Did you set a New Year's resolution?
Guess what I said? See, I'm an overachiever, and when I set a goal, every second of every moment I'm not working toward that goal, I can feel like a failure, and nobody needs that in their lives. So what I do is I move away from those kinds of things. I mean, I just don't need the pressure. I don't need the pressure.
I'm
right?
with you.
Did you set any New Year's resolutions?
I no longer set goals. I set learnings, right? And I stopped all that because I was like, it's too much pressure. It's day 3. My knees are hurting in this gym. I'm hungry. I've been in the bathroom all day because I've been trying to get this gallon of water down. Like, I'm over it. It's just too much pressure. But what I've started to do has worked for me the past 2-3 years. On New Year's Eve, I write down a list of things that I know about myself to be true, right? Things that I've learned over the course of the year that are my truths. And I challenge myself to be able to grow and expand upon those particular truths, right? So one of the things about me that I know to be true is, contrary to popular belief, is that I'm very, very introverted. And I really am not too comfortable being in the spotlight, which is difficult when you are working on your own personal brand and things of that sort. But I did challenge myself to try to get over that fear, right? To get over that anxiety that I feel is associated with it, and to just try to grow in that particular space. So those are things that I'm working for and working towards in the new year. And so that's kind of how I tackle my rendition of a New Year's resolution.
I love that. So let's wrap up that takeaway real quick. So you write things that you know to be true about yourself. You identify any fear that might be caught up in that. And then you look at what are the things you can set yourself up to learn that might help you challenge those fears as you move forward.
Yes.
Yes, Mama. Yes.
1, 2, and 3.
I'm here for that program. Yes. It's so much kinder. Right? So much kinder to yourself. I'm all about being kind to myself. I did that beating up on myself thing, for a few decades. I'm just not here for that anymore. I'll tell you, for me, So here was the shift for me, because I come right out of executive management, which you do in some ways too, and so I create a strategic plan with bar charts and statistics for
And
what goals I need to set, how likely they are to be achieved, what is my timeline, what is the cost benefit.
not the Excel file, not the Excel file.
Crazy.
Excel spreadsheet for days. Lord.
I just, there was a time in my life where I just felt like if I didn't have a spreadsheet for every aspiration, I was just not working hard enough. I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. I couldn't manifest
That's a whole nother topic.
That is. But, it does bring us to this obsession that we have when we come into this new year to really have to set these sort of insurmountable, in a way, obstacles for ourselves, as opposed to learnings, as you said, or as opposed to being open to what the universe brings us in the moment, or as opposed to looking at why we may have made choices the way we made them in the past and starting to shift some of that consciousness so that the behavior just then changes. We get obsessed with efforting our way to a new us, we punch our way through the gym until we lose the weight, right?
Exactly.
So tell me, what would you say to some of our listeners who right now are struggling with that? I mean, you gave them a really good teaching, but what's something else that you might say to some of these people as they're moving toward February? 80% of whom have already started to fail at the resolutions they set. What do we want to tell them?
I mean, I think it's really based in really understanding what self-compassion is, right? And the aspects of self-compassion, right? We all have things that we aspire, that we want to do, and things will be done in due timing, but it's really about, again, self-compassion, getting your mind in a state where you can take on some of these challenges or learnings, as I like to call them, and back again to self-compassion, because things happen in due time. So if I have a particular thing, and I think we were talking about this earlier, very, very introverted. Personal branding is one of the things that I really need to work on, and putting myself out there to be able to share some of the knowledge that I've come to learn and understand. I did a TV interview the other day for myself, and talking about New Year's resolutions and how to become a little bit less stressed in 2019. Now, it was a quick second. It's like segment. It wasn't like, 20 minutes on camera, but man, oh man, you would have thought that I was sitting in front of Oprah, because I was sweating. I was definitely, those fears and those thoughts and those insecurities start to pop up, where it's like, can you do this? Are you ready to do this? And it's like, okay, I've been doing meditation for 12 years. I've been teaching it for 4. Like, if now's not the time, then when, right? So I've learned my craft. I've mentally put myself in a position to understand, overstand what it is that I'm sharing with the public. And really the last challenge for me was to put myself in a position to be able to prove to myself that I was able to take that on, right? And regardless of what the outcome was, to be able to love on myself and appreciate the journey that I put myself towards. And that's really what I think people need to understand in terms of taking steps and wanting to take on goals. At the end of the day, regardless of whatever the outcome is, you really just need to be able to love on yourself and accept the fact that you are taking on the challenge to learn more about yourself and put yourself in environments that would change you in some way, shape, or form.
That's it. It's about shifting the consciousness, right? I think so many people, they don't have a sense of how their behavior is connected to their emotional state.
Yeah.
And so they want to change all of these behaviors without changing the emotional state, right? Hi, I've done that 1,000 times. So I'm very fully aware. Stand up if this is your problem, right? I don't know where else. I'm about to climb on this chair. So I get it. I get it. I fully understand it. But I think when you start to shift your consciousness to understand that your behavior is a function of your emotional state, then it becomes less about having to work toward a goal that modifies your behavior and more about shifting the emotional state and the consciousness that's inspiring and sponsoring that behavior. And the behavior will start to change itself, you know? And it is about that self-acceptance. That's such a good framing, because there is a piece of New Year's resolutions that's based on not being happy with who you are.
Oh, yes.
Right? And
the need for change.
Right.
And the need for change.
Right. And so if you come into a new year with self-hatred, and you come into a new year with self-doubt, and you come into a new year with self-loathing, and you come into a new year with self-criticism and self-judgment, and you come into a new year with all of that, and then you talk about, oh no, it's a goal. No, that's not a goal, mommy. That's killing you. That is not a resolution.
Oh,
and demise wrapped up in a pretty bow you call New Year's.
It is. And when your knees start hurting and retaliating against you, then you'll understand why.
Right.
The body is not in alignment. It said, listen, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this.
Yes. And you'll know it. And I think that is a big piece of why so many people do have issues carrying out their resolutions, as I know, because there are many I have set in my past that I don't even think about today, you know, but the reason that people have that issue, and that we've all had that issue, is because we're not in alignment with what we're trying to change.
Yeah.
You know, we're not acknowledging why we do it in the first place. We're not replacing that particular behavior with something that fills our emotional need. And so what are we trying to do? You know, so check this out, because I'm not completely over my addiction to statistics. I'm looking at this Statista.com article. So 53% of people who were surveyed about their New Year's resolution said it was to save money. 45% said lose weight or get in shape. 25% said have more sex. That's a whole other show.
Girl, you see my face like.
24% said travel more. 23% said read more books. 22% said learn a new skill or hobby. 21% said buy a house. It is a buyer's market. 16% said quit smoking, and 15% said finds love.
It's interesting because the first two or three, to me, immediately I thought, those are energetic blockages.
Speak on that.
Money and finance is energy, right? So a lot of the times, and weight. So how you think of yourself, how you perceive yourself, your belief system as it relates to whether you are deserving of something, really is. It relates to our finances and how we see money. And then in terms of the weight, a lot of the times we take on other people's stuff, not knowing that like the physical manifestation of that is us holding on to weight, or us holding on to our own emotions and not being able to shed that because we have some type of fear of opening up and being transparent. So that's just interesting how when you read those, I initially thought, wow, energy.
Yeah. I don't know that everybody fully grasps the importance of the energy that they're carrying, but that's such a great point, right? And particularly for me, energy as it represents the beliefs you hold.
Yes.
Right? Because the beliefs that we hold create an energetic experience around us, right? People, you could feel it. You can almost feel what people believe when you stand next to them, right? And so if you believe in abundance, you'll attract it. If you believe in scarcity, you won't. 53% of our people are out there hoping for money.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a very interesting way to set up your life. Is
money, weight loss, and sex.
Right. It's I feel like, was that a Lock song in the 80s?
That's Money, Power, Respect.
Oh. listen. It's been a
You was
while.
like, is that a love song? Nah, that's Money, Power, Respect
But
featuring
I
Little
mean,
Kim.
uh, shout out to hip hop.
Exactly.
Hip hop groupies. So yeah, I'm with you. I think there's some real energy um, education that needs to happen for us as a community. We really do need to be looking at how our beliefs feed the energy that surrounds us and how that helps us to manifest the things we want or the things we say we don't want,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're calling it to us either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, question: What would
Yeah.
you? What suggestions would you give for folks who've already established a New Year's resolution and they want to stick with it?
Yeah, no, they should. I can't. But,
But they're
right,
they're
well,
listening to this and they're like,
everybody else.
wait a second, New Year's learnings and energy. I set my goal. It's the
got this
14th.
breath.
I've been to the gym every day. What do I do?
What do I do with this spreadsheet? Yeah. No, I hear you. So here's what I would say. I think the only possible goal worth having is to learn to be kinder to ourselves. And so if you have other goals, they should all come through that goal. That really, to me, I mean, that's what I preach. That's what I work on, right? And I still struggle. Everybody I know struggles because we are conditioned by a society that mechanizes us in many ways so that we know what we have to do and when we have to do it, and we're very formulaic in our movement, right? Get up at 9, make the coffee, get the kids to school, do this, be at work by this time, right? You could tell I don't have kids because I said get up at 9.
Like, what kind of kids you got?
But you know what I'm saying, right? There's a formula to the way that we move through the world, and it can be inauthentic and it can create a less than organic experience for us. And then you're moving through in this very robotic way toward the things you think you want, or the things you think you're supposed to want, or the things you think will get you the other things you want, right? In our long chain of crap that we want. And so you can become very detached from your own emotional experiences. And it's not me. It's not nice. It's mean. We're mean to ourselves often.
We are.
And
we are
routinely. So for me, the best advice I think I can give people for how to move through 2019 and the years to come is find more ways to be nicer to yourself. Find better ways to be kinder to yourself and to other people. Now, if you have other goals you'd like to accomplish, I'm not anti-goals, right? There's a model for goals called SMART. So you make them specific, you make them measurable, right? You make them actionable, you make them realistic, and you make them time-lined or time-sensitive. And so you can chop them up into small things that are easier for you to accomplish. And that's going to help you feel more validated when you do it. And that'll build your self-esteem and build your ability to feel like you can move through it and move through the next thing. So I think building SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timelined. I think that's an important way to set those things up. I think the other thing is, if you're gonna set a goal to do something different, you should think about looking at why you were doing it the way you were doing it, right? Like, I'm real clear that I often miss my family since I'm on the road a lot. So when I get to my mama's house, I'm not going to say no to that white rice. I'm going to ask for a second plate, please and thank you. Yes. So my 20 pounds that I've gained in the last few years, they ain't coming off, because that's how I keep my family close. And I'm eating everything she cooks. Everything.
I love that.
Everything. And buying bigger jeans. I'm up to an 8, and every time I get in the jeans, I have a fond memory of a meal that helps me get into those.
Pass the platanos.
That's where I'm at. It's Christmas, but pasteles, yes.
Exactly.
Candule, yes. Plátanos, yes. Coquito, yes.
Yes.
All day. I'm here for it. Sorry. And I'll shed the weight at some point, but not today.
Yeah.
It's just not today.
I love that.
Right? So I think really there's a a real blessing that comes to shifting our consciousness, to understanding why we behave the way we behave to begin with. And then rather forcing the change in behavior, right? Rather than forcing a change in behavior, let's try to sit with what need we were trying to get met with the previous behavior. And then we can work toward a healthier way to meet that need as the year comes. And it might take us a week, it might take us a month, it might take us a year. It might still be our goal in 2020, and that's okay. Because judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, and moving into the hatred you feel for yourself when you're unaccomplished, that's not helpful. And I'm not here for that.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And I think to add to, a tip or a tool that a person can adopt when it comes to being kinder to yourself in 2019 is really asking yourself, what do I need to hear right now to express kindness to myself? Because I think sometimes we don't know what we need to hear necessarily. Sometimes we feel like we need to hear, get your butt in that gym. You need to sweat it out. You need to this. You need to, don't eat that, And we hear those voices, but we don't necessarily hear the voices that say, you're strong. You're forgiving to yourself. May this opportunity be an opportunity that allows me to learn something new about myself, right? May I give myself the compassion that I needed in this particular moment. So being able to, exactly. Being able to ask yourself, like, what do you need to hear right now in this particular moment in order to be kinder to yourself is extremely important.
I agree. Being kind, I just can't stress that enough. I can't tell you how many clients I work with who are mean to themselves and call it ambition. Right? Or who are nasty to themselves and call it discipline. Who are just outright super ratchet to themselves and call it drive.
Yes, right? Yes. I mean, people say all the time, like, okay, if you talk to yourself, if you talk to your friend as you talk to yourself when it comes to certain things, like, you wouldn't have a friend. Like, I couldn't talk to you and be like, D, you need to put them plantains down because, you'd be like, oh my gosh, you are so...
is over.
Exactly. Like, are you serious? Like, did you really just say that to me? We would speak to each other in ways that are loving and compassionate, We wouldn't talk to each other out the side of our neck.
Right. And there's a way to be loving and compassionate and call somebody out. And you can do it to yourself too. Like, it's absolutely possible, what we always call sensitive accountability, right? It's absolutely possible to have a conversation with someone else or with yourself where you are clear on what changes you might need to make and still honor the you or the them that made the initial behavior to begin with, right? You can say, I hear you, and, right? Not
yes, I was about to say, I think they gave degrees out in Yonkers when it came to that, because that's just how we talk to each other.
That is how we That's the truth. That's how we were trained. So for those of you listening on this podcast, for those of you who are listeners for the first time, Tia and I grew up together as a part of a program for children they called Gifted and Talented. We're not exactly sure that we were, but there goes the pressure and the goals and the aspirations and the self-talk and discipline and all the stuff we're telling you now we had to learn how to work over, right?
And shed. And literally shed.
Right. And how do you see yourself as that light and see yourself as worthy and see yourself as powerful without having the need to earn it constantly and work for it constantly and push for it constantly? Because that, I think, is what gets super exhausting, right? It's not, it's not setting a goal here and there or having aspirations. That's not what we're talking against. I think what we're talking against is when you become slaves to the idea of moving forward that
And
you're just always moving. You have to always be moving forward,
doing
right?
something. You're
Never
consumed
rest.
by it, and you associate a certain level of exhaustion with you moving further and
Worthiness.
for exactly
Worthiness. Sweat
worthiness.
equity, right?
Exactly.
Because if I didn't sweat for it and cry for it and bleed for it, then I don't deserve it, right? I can't just lose this weight by praying. I got to get on the treadmill, right? I can't just, I can't just find the love of my life at the bodega. I need to be swiping left 18 times a night. I can't just, right? Like this
Got to
is
be out there. You got to be active.
where we're at, right?
Yep.
You can't just earn a spot in the lives and hearts of people. You have to have 85,000 followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't. Everything now has become a battle against yourself in a way where you're sacrificing your own time, your own energy, your own essence to feel like you've earned your way into whatever you dream about. And that, I think, is how we do ourselves a disservice. Because look, I can work hard with the best of them. Give me a 14-hour day, I'm good. But then I go home and pray, right? And I can't do the 14-hour days 14 days in a row. There has to be a place for balance. There has to be a place for alignment. There has to be a place for stillness and for basking in what you've created and loving yourself as you are. And being able to say, yeah, I'm going to work on, doing something differently, but how I am and who I am is great already.
Not in this culture. No. No.
Right.
No, I mean, and mind you, you speak truth, but I think, and the reason why I think that this podcast in particular is very much needed is being able to break down that falsehood and to really give people a glimpse in terms of how things have been done in the past and how we need to kind of get back to that as a culture. We always talk about work hard, play hard, things of that sort. Validation, sweat equity, we talk about those things. But really being able to use this platform to break those things down and give people tangible tools and tips to be able to start to shed some of those beliefs is one of the things that I think is going to be great about this podcast.
Yeah, and we hope that you all will continue to tune into this podcast as we continue to dismantle all of the things that we think, feel, believe, see, bringing stress to our communities, because it's a killer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a killer. It's killing us, taking us out. And I think that so much of it could really be dismantled and obliterated if we would just give ourselves permission to be kind to ourselves and to one another.
Awesome.
So, okay, well, this has been Tia Robinson and Denora Nieves, your girl Dr. D, on our first podcast for S.O.S, Sisters Overcoming Stress. We're going to be coming to you on the 19th of every month as we move through 2019, and we hope that you will join us every month as we continue to discuss all of the stressors that we have and how we can overcome them.
Awesome.